Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our dinner event this evening. We have a 30-minute lively discussion about retail and e-commerce that we hope you'll find enlightening and educational tonight. By the way, by way of introduction, I am Eric Best. I'm the CEO at Mercent. We are a Seattle-based software-as-a-service provider that serves the enterprise retail market. And for most of our history, we've enabled retailers to sell more effectively on digital channels like Amazon, Google, and eBay. And I would say that as we move forward into 2013, we're finding that our focus on digital marketing also must include services and optimization of the merchandising offer. So you should be seeing a higher profile from Mercent in the coming year in the areas of competitive price intelligence, competitive price monitoring, as well as dynamic price calculation. So we're expressing quote-unquote market-perfect prices based on information that we're collecting from across the internet and beyond. I'm very pleased to introduce you to our esteemed panelists tonight. Starting on my right, we have Deborah Weinswig, who is Citi's lead investment analyst for retail and broadlines, food and drug, and home improvement. That's actually to your left. We have Jan Tanini, who is the VP of e-commerce for Red Cats USA. And lastly, we have Nitin Mangtani, who is head of Google Shopping. So, guys, without further ado, just to give a couple of stats that we've seen and reported at the NRF event this week, which of course is happening over at Javits. Huge show this year. Seems like the themes that we've observed are obviously increasing focus on omni-channel retailing, hyper-growth of mobile and tablet, and the impacts that growth trajectory is having on the overall industry. For our part at Mercent, because we're very closely aligned with channels like Amazon and Google, we're becoming profoundly aware of the impact that those companies are having on the transparency of product pricing information, both online as well as in stores. We're going to talk a bit about this. Hopefully it's not a tired topic yet. I think it's relevant to everyone, this concept of showrooming. So before we jump into comments from our panelists on all of those topics and more, I just want to share a few statistics with you that are pulled from Mercent's e-commerce performance index. We issue a quarterly index that tracks the overall performance of our portfolio of 500 enterprise retailers that are live and active on our platform. And in particular, 2012 was a first for us. We processed just under $2 billion in retail transactions, which in terms of the total domestic or global consumer economy is a drop in the bucket. But directionally, in terms of e-commerce, and particularly with regard to Google and Amazon, is very directionally important to us and to our clients. And we actually saw in another consistent quarter of growth, Amazon posted a 33% year-over-year quarter. That was relative to 25% last year. Just quickly on Amazon, we did notice that our retailers were better prepared with regard to their inventory planning and demand forecasting specific to the Amazon channel. 2011 was characterized by many of our sellers running out of inventory because they had underestimated the volume of Amazon. On Google, in spite of a mid-year model change, which we'll touch on tonight, we actually saw Google in its entirety recover all of the gross merchandise value that Google Product Search had been delivering as a free advertising program to our clients last year, and actually grew an additional 25% incrementally on the heels of this shift to a pay-to-play model, which is now known as product listing ads, part of the Google Shopping programs. And so very strong growth, particularly given that during that initial transition from product search to PLA, we did see some latency before the free traffic was replaced by retailer budgets, making up for the shortfall. I'll just finish my comments by saying that combined, we see that Amazon and Google are influencing 43% of online searches as of the end of the year. And when you look at the statistics that are coming out from Forrester and NRF regarding the influence that online research has on offline shopping, we believe that online plus offline combined, Amazon and Google alone are determining where consumers are spending $600 billion. That's a 2012 statistic. So that's 43% of online at $100 billion, and roughly half that, 21% of the $2.5 trillion total retail economy. And again, both of those companies are outperforming the industry average in terms of their growth relative to the organic growth rate. And they are also notably at the cutting edge of the market in terms of their adoption of mobile and tablet optimized shopping experiences for the consumer. So I'm going to start my questions with Deborah. I'd like to turn the conversation to you for a minute. And as we look at the trends that are coming out of NRF, if you want to focus on some of the things that I've mentioned in my opening comments, that's great. But in particular, as you look at marketplace and the rise of mobile, transparency around retailer pricing, what are some of the observations that you have here, Deborah?
You know, one of the things that is interesting, we had a conversation with Walmart going into NRF as they helped us write our report this year. And they said, you know what, we welcome showroomers. And I'm like, what? This isn't the Walmart I knew before holiday. So what we're hearing, right, and showrooming in my world has been one of the hottest topics, and how to combat it and how to think about it. And it's certainly been one of the hot topics on the floor, and price optimization and, right, I would say of the booths that we visited, probably 10% deal with price in some way, shape, or form. And so there's this idea of, if you're going to have showroomers, you might as well convert them. And how do you do that? And so Walmart said, okay, so right, at least there you can have them buy consumables and other items. But if they're in your store, even if you make, let's say, a zero margin on that TV that you sell, that's okay, because maybe you can get a service contract. Maybe there's other items that you can sell around the TV and make a nice margin on them. And I think you're starting to see a complete change in the way retailers think about selling. I'm not telling you it's every retailer. I'm not even telling you it's 50%. But I'm telling you that we're starting to see, and so maybe for holiday 2013, we don't see the worst traffic that we've ever seen since ShopperTrack started to track it. Maybe we see a very different approach, and maybe we start to see a better kind of omni-channel strategy. And that's another big topic that we've seen is omni-channel. I still think the retailers, it's almost shame on them for actually using the word, because it's not really omni-channel. Outside of Nordstrom's, in my coverage universe, we don't really see, and specialty, it's a whole different world, right? Their guts, that it really is much more pure play. And Walmart has also said it is going to live in two different houses. We are not even going to attempt to do that. And so I think you're seeing, and Target, they have, I think, really struggled ever since they moved off the Amazon platform. And so we're really seeing and their traffic trends have been negative every single month. So we're still seeing some real struggles out there. And in the meantime, right, you're seeing, where the heck did all those JCPenney customers go? Their comps have been almost negative 30% every quarter. And so, Macy's is out there running victory laps, and I'm like, yeah, look at your comps before and look at your comps afterwards. They're still in that mid-single digit percent. So there have been a lot of topics. NFC has been a much bigger topic than I ever in a million years would have thought. And so that, that continues. So I want to give everyone else some time, but it's been, chock full. It's not like there's anything like real. Actually, the one really new topic has been the idea of eliminating interchange. So I will say that has been, I think, the topic I would have expected to come out of NRF, but that has been the idea that has percolated up a bit.
Can you explain that for us e-commerce guys?
So this idea that maybe, Square and the Square wannabes, so I've now met probably 12 here, that they end up having a much greater impact on the world, and that, MCX ends up having a big impact, and, maybe MasterCard, Visa, and Amex, take a different pole position than they've been in the past.
Thank you, Deborah. So I'm actually going to just move down the line here a little out of order, Jan, just because we're on the topic of margins and potentially, the strategy that in some cases product can be loss leaders for higher margin services, which is essentially the opposite of the way that retailers have thought about those two categories historically. Can we talk a little bit about, as a retailer, how you're thinking about pricing strategy today? We've heard, at least anecdotally, that Amazon is willing to forego gross margin percentage in favor of overall gross profit dollars. Are you pursuing a similar strategy, or how is your overall approach to pricing and changing?
I mean, the pricing strategy for us is really complex. I mean, there's two things. On one side, cost of goods are going up. On the other side, we have more competition, so we need to be aggressive on the pricing. That being said, we are really not playing the same game, really trying to protect our margins. It's really important for us. At the end of the day, we are confident into our products. We are really trying to differentiate ourselves. So we are not that aggressive into lowering the prices. It's a challenge for prospection. So in some instances, you need still to have a good opening price point. But you mentioned Amazon. The Amazon game is really different depending on who you are. We have the chance that we are producing our own products, so we are differentiating ourselves from the competition. So we do not necessarily have to play the pricing game. That being said, the strategy is completely different for other retailers. I mean, if you're selling products that can be found in other places, the one thing that you have to fight for is pricing. If you don't get the buy box, basically you're not going to sell anything. So it's kind of dangerous. You actually need to know. I mean, in my opinion, and you guys might not share the same opinion, you need to know your limits. Some of the retailers are almost like going crazy, lowering the pricing, playing with promotion, and at the end of the day, like your margin is zero. So we are really not playing that game right now.
Just a follow-on question. So I understand you don't operate brick and mortar stores, but you are a multi-channel retailer.
Yep.
Insofar as you have a call center, you're printing catalogs, and so you have your mailing schedule. How are you resolving the digital price strategy against your print catalogs and the timing, the frequency differential, and so on that is at play there?
Our objective is actually to have the same price in the different channel. I mean, most of our online prices are actually driven by the offline prices that we have. So we actually mail a lot of catalogs. The pricing are supposed to be matching. After the online world is a little bit more reactive. I mean, you have more flexibility. So if you know that your product is working or not working, you can adjust slightly your prices in the online world. But we are really not trying to create a big differentiation between the channels. For the customer, I mean, at the end of the day, we really don't care if they're buying offline or online. What we want is for the customer to find our products in the way they want to find it. And on the other side, we want to protect, again, our margins.
Let's come back and maybe talk a little bit about the concept of customer lifetime value and how that plays out. Just another stat on our Google business this year. I mentioned earlier that we saw that 25% year-over-year growth in spite of the mid-year model change. I'll also say that collectively, Google and Amazon, for the first time, drove 65% of our collective customer GMV in the fourth quarter. And again, in spite of the model change, we actually saw that Google came in on an overall volume basis greater than Amazon, which was pretty significant for us at Mercant, given our heritage with both companies and the steady growth that we've seen from Google over time. Can you talk a little bit about how Google views retail, how 2012 wrapped, and some of the things that are top of mind for your team as we move into the year?
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, thanks, Eric, for having us, and thanks, everyone, for joining us today. The NRF show, I should start by just talking a little bit about NRF show, and then I'll go into Google and specific of what we have been thinking. I've been to several of the NRF shows, and I must say, this one has a lot of energy, a lot of innovation driving retail. And if you look at any industry, technology and innovation plays a big part in everything we do, from consumer experience to overall margins and GMV, obviously, which is important to all of us. And this is the same philosophy applies at Google, is that we like to think about the user first. And we want to think that if you think about the user, everything else will follow. Right? So of course, we all have to think about revenues and profits, but you cannot sacrifice the user experience. So whatever decisions we make at Google are based on that single fact: how can we improve the user experience? And this is something we think about it every day. And it doesn't matter whether the user is on our mobile property or is it on desktop, whether he's trying to buy a product online or whether he's trying to find the nearest store to buy a product, because users will do what they find is most convenient to them. And it's our job to understand users' intent, which is obviously the hard problem. Right? When somebody types in a query, trousers, we don't know whether they're trying to shop now, do some research, they are trying to go to a store near them, right? So we have to understand that query and give the best choices to a user so that he or she can complete their shopping experience. And the basic philosophy is, how do you reduce the friction in shopping and overall e-commerce? Because if you can reduce the friction, the commerce, overall grows. I mean, if you go back, through the time before currencies were there, after currencies were invented, commerce actually became much more bigger. Transportation, again, commerce. So every new innovation actually increases the pie of the commerce. It's actually not zero-sum game, right? So it's not like we just, incrementally increase. It actually fundamentally changes it, right? So that's what we focus at Google. How do we create an experience which helps a consumer discover what they're looking for? Now, we are not a retailer. We are not a marketplace. So at the end of the day, we want to drive the user back to your website, whether it's a website, mobile app, or whether it's a store, right? I mean, you come to Google, you can find a nearest Macy's store or whatever retailer you are. We make it easier for them to discover that store. And that's really our job. And the whole experience and the thought process is behind it. And then what else? As Eric mentioned, we did move to a paid model. And I don't want to trivialize that change. Any change is hard. And that's why we made sure we gave everybody enough time. Right? We went through a very gradual and a slow process, and this was not it was a multi-quarter effort, which we worked very closely with merchant as well as your customers directly. And I think overall it has resulted in a better consumer experience for our users. The data quality is much better. The adoption from merchants has been pretty good. But again, I don't want to trivialize. I understand that you guys went through this change, and that change is never easy. But I think at the end, we are delivering a better value to the consumer and merchants both, and many of you would have realized with the data. I cannot share specific metrics. We are in a quiet period right now, Google, so I won't be able to disclose any metrics. The metrics that Eric is sharing, that's from his perspective and merchants' customers are saying. So just to put a small disclaimer,
these are not asterisk over your head right now.
These are not Google's official metrics, but I totally respect and appreciate Eric sharing metrics from his perspective and his customers. But overall, I feel it's the right change. As a consumer, when I go to Google and I'm trying to find products, I find it more easier. I see a much higher quality of data now. I see a lot more focus from the industry to provide that right quality of data and right information to the consumer so that you don't get into the phase, which I call it, it's a term which I'm going to steal. Somebody else had used it, which was, it's like a blend between anticipation and disappointment, which is, that sometimes what happens is when users are looking for something, there's an anticipation that they'll be able to find that product or information immediately. But if it's a poor quality data, if you're out of stock or it's a wrong listing, that's disappointment, right? And we want to avoid that from a consumer perspective, right? When we send a consumer to your property, we want to make sure that the consumer can continue that shopping journey as seamlessly as possible, right? And that's what I feel like the data quality has improved a lot.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, and just some additional merchant data points on the program. Again, this is our data, not Google's data. But I think inevitably, by virtue of the fact that you have a richer ad format with the PLA ad units, the image, the product image, the price, and so on, while we've seen cost per click rise over the course of 2012, we've also seen higher average order value and also higher conversion rates from the program relative to AdWords and some other channels that we enable for our customers. So, okay, thank you. So, Deb, I'm going to turn it back to you. We've talked a little bit, I want to get into mobile in a few minutes, but we've talked a little bit about how Amazon and Google and other providers in the market are creating this more transparent economy and in some ways arming the consumer with more information than the merchant or marketer might have at their fingertips. So when you think about broad retailer, offline and online strategies and tactics, where do you start?
So it's interesting. There's also this new idea at NRF that I heard, which is as the consumer goes into the store, make it easier for them to check in. So I had spoken, there's actually an event on Saturday, it's called Super Saturday ROI, and so I said, I just want to go into a store and I want someone to know who I am, right? If I'm a platinum customer, I want them to address me just by name, just say, hi Deb, how are you? If they could get me a cup of coffee, that would be great with 5 Splendas and a little bit of cream, right? But I want them to know my tastes. And, if they know I like Christian Louboutin shoes, maybe, if they even give me 5% off, I'd probably buy another pair. But, if there's something that they could do to tell me if they know me, anything, right? Because they know me in the online world incredibly well.
Make you feel special.
Make me feel special. Anything they could do. And what kills me, right? So they've got all of this data in terms of e-commerce and mobile and my credit card. Every single retailer that I follow, I have had a credit card since I started following them. And since I've covered retail for 15 years, I've had these credit cards a very long time. And do you know, I call it barf because I can't think of a better word, but I have never received a tailored promotion. I have a dog, and I get cat mail, and I get gerbil mail and hamster mail, and this is Petco. I'm being told that PetSmart does something different, but I shop at Petco, and so, and what you'll see is, right, and I get all kinds of advertising for men in stores that I only buy for women, and it is still incredible to me that we're not seeing retailers take advantage, right, and big data and Hadoop and all of this stuff, right, unstructured and structured and, right, reeling it all together, right, I get how to do it. But we're not seeing all the teams kind of come together and, work together yet. And so I think, like I said, I think 2013 ends up being the year. And this is why, I've been a huge supporter of JCPenney because, and hopefully they have enough cash to get to the end of the game, because I do think that I need somebody to go out there and really revolutionize it and have the heart and the spirit, because we need to see, retailers think differently about how to approach it and to, take it from the position of the customer, right? When I'm in the store, I do want gelato. I do. And that's what they're giving me. And I want candy, and I want a fun shopping experience. It's got to be fun. And I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to see that Valley View store of Penny's, but they had 300 people there for an analyst meeting. That does not happen in my world. 300 people do not get on a plane and go down to Dallas or go anywhere anymore, right? You're lucky even at Home Depot only gets 100 analysts, right? And that's a very big company. And so, but there are 300 people there, and I have to tell you, even hedge fund guys are like, wow, this is a great use of time. And they stayed for 45 minutes, right? You fly all the way there from New York, you stay there for 45 minutes, and you fly back, and people are like, that was so awesome. And it was, because it was thinking about retail in a totally new way, right? It was like I could take a little snip from here and a little snip from there, but it's like what you do when you're online, but you could actually see it, and really, you did taste it and feel it. And, I could see, like I said, mall traffic was down the worst it's been. Actually, it was traffic to all stores, the worst it's been in 2012. Hey, we could blame it on the weather, but you know what? That's always a scapegoat. There's something more concerning going on out there. And I got to tell you, when my ass had to get up and leave my Thanksgiving dinner table at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday because I had to go to see the stores to write my note, I was like, who on earth would do this? Right? It's, there's something just not right out there. And then I had to get back up on Friday morning to go see the stores, right, that didn't open up until Friday. And I'm like, I think we're going to continue to see a change unless retailers make it. There's got to be something more than price.
You have to meet the customer with that service level. So, Jan, you're in the driver's seat in terms of engaging with Red Cat's customers online. We've talked about 2 ways that I think you're well positioned in the market in terms of everything that we've talked about so far. One, of course, is that you're not necessarily, you're focused on arguably a more nimble channel in the long run, but you still have the same considerations from a retail standpoint in terms of balancing customer acquisition and retention and the role that promotions play in your overall e-commerce strategy. Can you talk just a little bit about how you think about, we mentioned LTV earlier, how you think about acquisition versus retention, and then where promotions play a role?
Yeah, some of the people from my team here were doing a lot of analysis on retention and acquisition. It's actually really 2 different models. Mm-hmm. And of course, we're adjusting promotions for those groups of people. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really, as you mentioned, looking at the lifetime value of those customers. So on the acquisition side, basically, on the first order, we're actually ready to be probably losing money, knowing that in 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, depending on your ROI goals, you're going to get that return. So we're actually playing with the level of commercial investment and the level of promotions to attain basically those goals.
Are there ways that, so when you think about pricing strategy or promotional strategy to acquire that next customer, how do you think about doing that without penalizing your loyal repeat shoppers, your own member base?
Yeah, but it's really about like segmenting. So you're going to segment your messages, but it goes like, I mean, for example, again, it's a big topic, segmentation and personalization, I think is the key here. And it goes from basically your own page, trying to recognize if it's a returning customer or a new customer. It goes into your email channel, trying to segment and give different offers, even on the merchandising side, but also the marketing side. It's if I mean, most of the time, if you're trying to acquire like someone, you're probably going to be slightly more aggressive on the promotion side. So it's really about knowing your customers, having like a big CRM system, and segmenting and personalizing across like all your different channels. After, the strategies are really different by channel. If you take, for example, on the email side, which is like a big channel for e-commerce, if you're looking at the acquisition piece of the email programs, it's not that much.
New customer acquisition.
I mean, like you actually spend somewhere else to acquire the email address, or most of the time it's someone coming to the site. They already know you, and they enter the email address because they want to receive your newsletter. So here it's probably going to be more like on the retention side. Same thing for retargeting. On the paid search side, I mean, like here it's probably going to be more, at least on generic terms, more an acquisition driver. So we'll be slightly more aggressive on the promotion.
So one other related question, and again, I think you're also in a great position by virtue of the fact that you own your supply chain, ultimately back to the manufacturer of your private label goods. Are you at the point yet where you're starting to think about or are already producing specific lines or SKUs for unique online channels?
That's a discussion that we are having. I mean, in terms of the percentage of SKUs, it's not that much, but I mean, depending on the time of the year, yes, we had like special collection that we were actually just like pushing on the web. After, we also have our own marketplace. So right. I mean, in that case, the products you can find way more products online that you would find in the other channel. Yes, there is a differentiation in terms of product assortment between offline and online.
Yeah.
Coming from basically our internal product, but also the fact that we have a broad assortment coming from our own marketplace.
Final, just follow-on question that I want to get back to Nitin again. But so when you look at how your direct marketplace strategy has affected assortment, particularly relative to your print catalogs, is it exponential growth? I mean, I don't know if you can share numbers in terms of the total unique SKUs that exist today across your business versus 2 or 3 years ago, but maybe just for, some sense of how that has scaled.
So I'm laughing because the guy in charge of the marketplace is in the room.
Perfect.
So it's Jim Lovegrain from One Stop Plus.
Jim, do you want to just address the question?
In terms of product offering, gone down to the SKU level, we've gone from about 10,000 to almost 40,000.
Nice. So a 4x increase in your total catalog.
That's something around 300,000 SKUs.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
After what we are looking is making sure that there's, the products are really complementary, like not competing against each other.
And just bringing this full circle, all of this is our strategy and tactics that, in a sense, help offset some of this pricing transparency that we're seeing in the market. I want to switch to the topic of mobile, and maybe this is a good segue and back to you in terms of, I know that you recently launched a retail promotions program on the heels of PLA and Google Shopping, and I also know that's integrated with Google Local and some of the mobile shopping initiatives that you're working on. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we wanted to make it easy for retailers to not only, help bridge this, discovery process online, which I think we have done a great job sending traffic to your online websites. But if you are a multi-channel retailer in the sense you have physical stores, we also wanted to make it easier for consumers to have a connection with you. And we felt promotions is a great way to kind of, have that bridge. Now, obviously, we wanted to work on targeted promotions. So the point is well taken, right? I mean, you cannot give 20% off to every user. That the economics will not work, right? So targeted promotions are an important thing. So, for example, if you are opening a new store, it totally makes sense to issue some promotions because that's the best way to acquire new customers. You're still getting the users familiarized with the new neighborhood store. So what we have done is we built this product called Retail Promotions, and actually Merchant has been our first partner who launched with us. We launched it in October, so it's a relatively new product actually. But what we allow you to do as a retailer, you can create promotions and upload it to Google, right? So you can create a promotion like 15% off wedding sale or $5 off, $50 or more purchase. And then you can decide whether you want to make this promotion applicable to all your stores, right? So you're already giving us a feed of your store locations, and we know it. So you can either say, you know what, this is a broad-based promotion. It's less about targeting. It's just we want this for a clearance, right? You're changing the season, or you still have Christmas stuff left. So those promotions are broad-based, easy to do. But if you wanted to do more location-targeted promotions, we also give you an ability where you can say, this promotion only applies to this particular store. And we would do location-based targeting. So if you're on Google Maps, you're looking for a store, or if you're in that particular area, we have created a new layer called offers. So you can click on that offers layer. And then if you're near the store, we will notify you. But because of the location targeting, the control that we have given you, if that promotion only applies to a store in Mountain View, then we won't show it to you if you're in San Francisco or any other city in this country. And that's the concept. And those promotions show up today on Google Maps as well as Google Offers app. And then we have also integrated with Google Shopping properties. If somebody is already looking for a product, and if you have a promotion, we can essentially show it. So that's the kind of overall.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to finish on the topic of mobile and how it's affecting your business. And Deborah, how you're observing that I know it's a huge topic, but maybe some of the NRF observations that you have this week. So, but first, Jan, do you want to just talk about how mobile has impacted your business and maybe where you're focusing your investments and efforts?
Mobile is really impacting our business in a huge manner. I mean, the mobile traffic is exploding. So today, it's not only like changing basically the way we market to our customers, but also even the infrastructures from a technology standpoint. The way we are designing basically our teams, who is in charge of mobile, the way we are doing online marketing. So the entire organization is actually impacted from mobile. From the mobile side. After, we also have the discussion on what do you put into mobile. Is it smartphone? Is it smartphone plus tablet? Is it just tablets? For us, we're actually putting smartphone and tablets into the mobile bucket. And just because the customer experience is really, really different from the desktop. So for me, mobile is actually a new way to interact with the hardware. Today it's way more like touchscreen. It needs to be way more interactive. We're actually in our third generation of mobile website or application. The strategy is actually to really focus on the mobile and tablet optimized sites. Just because we are spending so much commercial investment to drive traffic to our different property, that we want to leverage, that traffic. In the case of the application, you actually need to market your applications for them to download the application. So there's one more step. Today, we already have the traffic. So we just need to make sure that the customer experience is maximized and that we are maximizing the conversion. So at Recast, our target for 2013 is optimized site on the smartphone and the tablet. Just to go back, so we are third generation. I would say like first generation, we basically worked with an outside vendor, developed something that was actually really decent. But then we understood that it was extremely important. Like we saw the numbers are growing quite fast. So it was time for us to take back the ownership. So with second generation is basically improvement of what the first generation, but we are doing it ourselves. Third generation, I think is going to be, or is completely different. I would say that in the last 2-3 years, basically, the mobile experience is a replication of the desktop. We're trying to do basically what we are doing in desktop side, trying to do it in the mobile world. By following the same rules, following the same designs. The new generation of mobile needs to be completely different. You actually need to design for mobile, and when I say mobile, is like the interactivity with the hardware first, and not replicate what necessarily you are doing in the desktop world. So this is our new approach: design first for tablets and mobile. And it's going to change completely the customer experience. Probably going to change also our websites. I mean, the desktop websites in the next couple of years. I do think that mobile is going actually to drive pretty much everything. So I mean, that's our approach. I mean, really trying to leverage. Again, to go back to mobile versus application. If you go back 2-3 years ago, I mean, in the application world, you could do much more than in the mobile world. Now with the HTML5, you probably can do, I would say, 95% of what you can do in an application. So that's another reason for us to really focus on mobile web.
On mobile, okay.
And again, mobile, it's smartphone and tablet for us.
All right, before we switch it over to Q&A here and give our audience a chance to pose some questions, Deb, observations from the week and your post-holiday perspective on mobile. It's hard not to overstate the importance, I guess, but
yeah. So I'll tell you, the retailers who everyone ran out and did their own app. And I'll tell you, what I would do is, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I'm passionate about retail. So when I go on flights, I will, even when I don't have to go to the bathroom, I'll walk up and down and see who's shopping, right? And so it's amazing, right? And so some flights I'll count and see how many people are sitting there, shopping on their, laptop or shopping on their mobile device, whether it's a smartphone or whether it's an iPad or whatnot. And it's amazing how often, usually it's right when everyone's sitting on the ground and just waiting for, especially when you're delayed. But you have obviously, if you talk to the high-end retailers, Neiman's, Nordstrom, Saks, they will tell you that the real breakout was going from smartphone to tablet. Because it was very difficult to see color, it was very difficult to see the item, and especially jewelry. They would tell you, Costco would tell you the amount of high-end jewelry north of $10,000 that they sell on, they can tell you where it's coming from a mobile device is, would rock your world. And so this has been just a real breakout for the retailers. And, I will challenge you also, go to Macy's.com versus their mobile app. A lot of these retailers still have a lot of work to do. And I think that they've put in a lot of work, but I still think there's a lot more work to be done. And I don't know if even they quite realize. I mean, there's so much, and I think they're so overwhelmed at this point. And I've spoken to a lot of CIOs, and they'll say, I have a list of 100 things I need to do, and I don't know where to start.
Maybe the silver lining at the end of the day is that if you look at mobile in terms of where we were with browser-based e-commerce 10, 12 years ago, there is an extended time horizon you can imagine. It will take retailers, Omni-Channel or pure play, to really fully understand and then tap the potential of the medium.
Yeah, I mean, it's also becoming increasingly complex because you have like the different operating system, you have the different hardware, you have the different in the operating system, you have the different version. So if basically your technology like platform is not designed for it, you're always going to try to run after and like try to catch up. So you need to set up something right from scratch where you can adapt to any evolution. I think a lot of those retailers that you're mentioning are, developing and trying to catch up, but and then comes the new format of tablet, the new operating system, and then it's dead.
Well, I have to tell you, and this is a very forward specialty retailer who brought me into their board of directors meeting in February of 2012. I will not mention them because I was so astounded. I was actually speechless for a moment. Right? At the end of the day, I am a retail analyst who knows a lot about retail tech. And literally in front of a lot of people, he asked me, what should we do about mobile? And I'm like, oh.
It was last year.
Yeah. So this was less than a year ago. And I was like, oh my God. Right. And I'm like, that's what I want to say. And so I definitely, yeah. So it's like, this is kind of where you would start and this is how I would think about it. But it's like, this is somebody who literally didn't know how to approach mobile in the year 2012. And so, and I have to say it, I hold specialty retailers to a much higher bar, but it's, when you're vertically integrated, I always think it's much easier and much more complex at the same time. But I do think that, and this idea, you can physically get closer to the customer, cash registers are literally being thrown out the window, as you can check customers out. And I think that physical closeness, I think there's something to that. As I can get, really close to you, really close. I do think that but you know what Macy's said? As they said, this is the whole idea, they said that they literally had to go through, you're going to die, I'll tell you more than I probably should, but they literally had to go through and give, their sales associates note cards and how to make small talk with the customers. Because they literally, some of the people had lost the ability to chit-chat with the customers.
Have a connection.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so yeah. I want to make sure that we have an opportunity just for a few questions from our audience. But Nitin, I know you're on you have a fairly busy schedule.
I'll stay for a couple of questions and then
so why
I'll
don't
go
we
to
start? If you have any questions specifically for, you were waiting for this, weren't you? For Google.
And if you can introduce yourself, just your name and company.
I'm Darren Lillian. I'm the CEO of iSave. We sell sunglasses online. But my question is, and I'll try to speak loudly. You had mentioned that Google is not a marketplace, but at the same time you're trying to reduce friction for the consumer. And with PLAs going in the direction they're going, and you have Google Wallet or Google Checkout, one might think that Google is sort of going in this direction like Amazon, where there's sort of this. You theoretically could have a one-cart checkout process across multiple retailers based on your current platform. Is that something that Google plans to get into? Or?
Yeah, our main focus, honestly, has been discovery. That's where we really strive to build a beautiful search experience, which is if you are looking for a certain product or a category, or if you haven't even made up your mind, how do we build that beautiful discovery experience and give a user choices on whether he's shopping online or in-store? Now, we do have some technology that we provide to retailers. Google Checkout or Google Wallet is one of them. Google Trusted Stores is another thing we provide. And then there is, we obviously have our Google Enterprise business, which is Google Apps and things like that. So we do provide technology to retailers to help them be better productive or to optimize their websites, whether it's measuring analytics through Google Analytics or other avenues. But we don't aspire to build a marketplace. Essentially, we are sending the traffic back to you, right? So you want to make sure that a user can discover the product as fast as can, and then you're also in a hurry to then you send the user to the website which he or she wants to then complete the purchase, and that's what we are trying to do. Now, once the user is on your property, we also provide some technologies which are just listed right now, from Google Analytics to the optimizer, to help you so that you can optimize your website better. Because once you have the user on your property, we want to help you as much as we can in a completely your labeled experience, right? So it doesn't say powered by Google or anything. It's your website, but we provide some technologies which just help you. But still, our job is to send the user back to your property, and that's really what our focus is. Cool.
Before we wrap with Nitin, any other questions directed toward Google or Google-related topics?
One. Corey Waterman, I'm from True Action, it's part of eBay. So you talked a lot about consumer transparency. What about transparency for marketers as it relates to data as it relates to PLA data? Certainly there's some efforts going on right now that will in data that will help improve that. But I think it's a huge need from our perspective as we plan and optimize.
Jory, can you give an example of maybe of the data you're talking about?
From coverage information to from coverage percentages to impressions at a product target level. How can we get significantly more information so that we can optimize better, provide and improve ROI, perhaps even optimizing to specific margins for individual products?
No, this is a great question. Thanks for asking. So yeah, I mean, I did mention about the consumer, but that doesn't mean, not merchant. The point I was trying to make is that you have to start with the consumer. You have to start with the user first, right? Which is, if I was starting my business tomorrow and let's say I was a mom and pop shop, selling something, or I had a restaurant, I have to think about the consumer first before I think about myself and, what's right for me. Because if you cannot make the consumer happy, the down funnel matrix will never look good, right? It's just the reality. We all are consumers, and you can put yourself in consumer shoe and say, you know what, why would you go back to this retailer again, right? It's because of A, the experience they're providing, B, the convenience they're giving you, and C, the price. And for every person, what is important to them and what's the relative order does vary. Some people are more price sensitive, some people are all about convenience, some people are all about experience and discovery, right? But having said that, we absolutely care about merchants and the merchant experience, right? So as you guys know, we have invested heavily in Google Merchant Center, which is our shopping merchant center, and I was personally involved in it a few years ago, and I remember really building a lot of the APIs and the internal plumbing so that things can be automated, right? Because we wanted to make this product run at scale. We have customers who have millions of products, right? So unless you build the right APIs and framework, it's impossible to scale because nobody's manually going to type it. And then we also worked with partners like Merchant because we realized that ecosystem is pretty important. We want to make sure that this whole experience of giving a feed to Google, a product search feed, is as seamless and as simple as possible, right? And I think we have done a great job. Can it be better? Absolutely, it can be better. And then the second part to your question is, can we share more analytics and insights to help you optimize your campaigns? I think that's a fair feedback. We obviously quarter you have seen, we add more features to our product every. We are in the cloud, so we are doing releases and adding more features. But the specifics about what we are going to add more, Google generally doesn't disclose forward-looking kind of roadmap items. But we would love to get your feedback. I mean, do channel it through us, and we do a lot of one-on-one meetings with several of you. I personally have visited many of you at your offices, and we also hosted you where we have. In a very open-ended brainstorming kind of whiteboarding kind of a session, I've discussed, what would you like from Google, right? And same with Merchant. We have great relationship with Merchant where we get a lot of feedback from Merchant. So our promise to you is, yes, absolutely, we care about merchants as much as we care about consumers. And we want to give you the best experience we can give you, not just driving traffic, but also kind of giving you more insights and analytics as much as we can.
I love the idea of being able to watch for spiking impressions on specific product SKUs as a leading indicator of demand. So maybe something for you.
Yeah, no,
take back.
Take back as a great suggestion.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So let's pause. I want to thank.
Thank you to you, and thank you to everybody, and thanks to my panelists. Good talking to you, Deborah. Again, pleasure meeting you, Eric. Thanks for hosting. Thank you. This is great. Thanks, everyone.
And so, if we have any additional questions for Jan, Deborah, or me, we can take those now, and then we're going to wrap and give you guys a chance to interact. Rit.
As we think about e-commerce, as we think about your platforms, and Deborah, what you look at, what does some of this mean for the U.S. retailers going global and using e-commerce as maybe the tip of the spear to go global in an easier way?
So let me just restate the question so everyone heard it. We did not have time and opportunity to get to international strategy per se, but particularly for companies in the U.S. Is e-commerce an opportunity to maybe enter a new market in a low-cost, lower-risk way? And I guess since we have Red Cats, which is already a global phenomenon, how do you think about entering new markets and the importance of your online business in moving into those new countries or new markets?
I cannot really tell you if it's a good strategy for your company or not.
Let me ask a very specific question. When you think about currency conversion, fulfillment capability, or localized content, how do you prioritize those? Do you need all three when you enter a market for the first time? Or is there a way to stage your investment in those three things?
I mean, the distribution is going to be your key. I mean, the key thing.
Okay.
Without it, like you cannot do anything. After, I think the currency conversion is going to be a huge challenge if you don't have it. So I mean, it's actually going back to the technology piece. And actually, I want to touch base on the technology piece on the international, but the mobile, because for me, I mean, it's two complete different topics, but they're somehow related to how like e-commerce platforms are structured. So just to go back to the mobile, and then I'll jump into the international. I think there's companies like Google, companies like Facebook, Amazon. They're here to. I mean, they're training the customers how to interact with mobile. This is great. They are basically giving us the road. After, like for retailers, it's actually difficult to follow. There's so many platforms, so many operating systems. So it's quite challenging to have like a good customer experience. So where I actually think today there is a small gap into is on the technology side. I don't think the e-commerce platform are actually well designed and really offering a complete product that can address the mobile world, where basically it's integrated into your CMS systems, your databases. I mean, the platforms are not there. It's on the side. Same thing for international. I mean, a lot of guys are developing like website on the site. They are working with external companies to do currency conversion. They are working with. It's actually quite difficult to integrate with, on the logistic part. So we actually need platforms that are designed from the beginning to handle the different mobile aspects, to handle the different currencies, to handle the multiple languages for your product description. So the way you architecture your e-commerce platform is key for those two topics.
Okay.
And if you do it after, I mean, it's going to become like a pile of brick, and at some point is going to break. So you'll have to restart from scratch. And I think that's a challenge of most of the retailers right now.
Thanks, Jan. So any final questions from the audience? And I'd ask if, yeah.
Really quick. It's Corey Petway from New York Inkjet. So Deborah, is it important that we build an app for mobile, like tablets, or should we just have a mobile website capability?
So in terms of app versus, optimized, I mean, what's interesting is I think it depends. So what you'll see is when I'll literally stand at the entrance of stores and mainly like a Target, Walmart, and you'll literally see people come in and they'll have their heads buried in their device, and sometimes you'll just like literally sit there and ask them, and it'll be like app or optimized website, but you'll find sometimes honestly like an age cutoff, and so I would honestly say millennial will prefer an app, and a more mature customer will prefer an optimized website. So I find that apps are fun because I usually find there's more bells and whistles personally. So, and there tend to be more offers and whatnot, but it depends kind of where you want to invest. So that's kind of how I look at it, kind of between the two. But if you can put more bells, I just want to have fun with it, right? And I think that's what the customer does as well. But if it's going to,
you think that's missing from the mobile experience today? Is it an entertainment value or service value that
I want
you're
both,
looking for.
but
Okay.
if you can get that into, however you, I think, can best service. I think at the end of the day, you have to think with the customer in mind, and however you can best service the customer. I think that's got to be the key.
Your answer may be different than mine too, right?
Mine.
So
Yeah, I mean, I would say like you have to at first like what are you trying to accomplish? Is it like a conversion tool or a communication tool?
Yeah.
Again, I'm back to our strategy. It's a conversion tool. So if you already have the traffic, I'm all for mobile web, because I mean you already have the traffic. They're going to go to your mobile web. After, if you, I mean, I don't know exactly how you guys are set up, but if you are like a flash sale, I'm taking the flash sale because everybody knows the flash sale site. In that case, the application might be something important because you actually can communicate to the customer, which is slightly more difficult in the mobile web. So first, you really need to define your goals, like conversion, communication. The conversion, you can do it in both. The communication is slightly easier on the application side. You have to build a grid on really what you're trying to do and how you want to build your marketing behind it, because this is going to be key. I mean, if you're building like the nicest application, if you still need to have people to download it, so you'll have to invest some dollars somewhere. If you already have big marketing campaigns and you already have a lot of traffic, putting a mobile web optimized website or tablet website, you might slightly under invest versus an application, but that's my point of view.
Okay, great. Thank you again. Thanks to our panelists. Thank you.